I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. We're going to review a 2010 album by Blonde Redhead called Penny Sparkle. Blonde Redhead. Man, is this band getting some hype right now in the music community. All these blogs out there talking about Blonde Redhead, whom I had never heard before, but they've been around for a long time. 15 years or so, came around in the mid-90s, and really this is the first album that is anything like you could describe trip-hop, and that's exactly how I would describe this album, is that this is where other bands in some big indie releases this year have towed the line of, oh, we're really creep rock and we're almost trip-hop, but we're not quite there, we're just kind of this moody deviance, you know. This is just blatantly trip-hop, I feel. Much more just into that category. If I was going to compare this, I'd say, man, I got a ton of Depeche Mode, a lot of the XX, Elbow, Massive Attack. I think this sounds really very close with just more electronics and synth. To Beach House's Teen Dream, an episode we reviewed just a few episodes ago. But Tom, what'd you feel about this? I know that Tom and I really kind of disagreed on this album, where I favored it.
I thought it was okay. I liked some aspects of it. The big turnoff for me was the vocals. I thought they were really breathy. I couldn't understand what the people are saying. There's a couple of vocalists here. The male vocalists I could understand a lot more than the female vocals, but for female vocalists I just got a lot of I just didn't really get into it.
And to me, she seemed more like a kind of lethargic Karen O.
Yeah, or Bjork.
Yeah, Bjork.
I got some Bjork out of that.
Hardcore.
But that was a big turnoff for me. I couldn't understand the lyrics. They're just kind of, to me, it just kind of washes over the beats. And the thing is, the beats I feel like don't have a lot of energy to them. That's the thing. Like, you know, you said this is a lot closer to trip hop, and that's true. But I feel like the one main element it's missing is it's a little too much trip and not enough hop. I don't get any bounce out of this. I mean, even if you go back and listen to like older Tricky stuff. I mean, Tricky is like Tricky and Portishead are like, you know, the trip hop staples, and Massive Attack, and they have some you know, you can kind of groove to, and you get that every now and then here, but it's a lot more ambience. I still think, yes. But definitely the style is much closer to that. Definitely closer than like the XX's.
Yeah.
And it's still a little more energetic than they are. But the thing is, for some reason, I just did not feel the mood. And maybe it's just because the vocals were a barrier for me. But I couldn't penetrate that aspect of it to get through to what was going on. I felt like the beats were kind of slow moving. There was some cool instrumental stuff going on. But I just feel like I wanted more energy from either the beats or the vocals to make up for the lack of energy in the other.
And I can understand that. I mean, the vocals were, I mean, for me, that was what got me into them more, is the fact that I did find them hard to hear. Now, I crank the volume on pretty much everything I listen to just because I'm listening to it at work in really nice headphones. So, I mean, I'm typically not listening to this through open speakers. But it caused me to want to, like, look up the lyrics and figure out what this chick, who I think the chick sings on 7 of the 10 tracks. But I really started to dig her voice after I started getting into the lyrics and could hear what she was saying and stuff, which helped me, I think, and that probably could have been a barrier to anybody out there. But what really got me was just, it's so moody, and I love albums that really can go out and nail a mood. And they did it through good songwriting. And the songwriting was devoted to creating a lush atmosphere of just synths and guitar parts that are there in the background, but they're still there and you can still hear them and your ear's still drawn to them. I love that. That's so aesthetic, and I'm a sucker for it. But that's really what it came down to for me. And one criticism I have of this album, actually, is that it does get lethargic at times. Some of these songs drag on at times. Another one, a big one for me, is that it's really top heavy. I have 4 track picks here, and they're all before track 5, you know, or they're 1, 2, 4, and 5. So, I mean, that's just the way it is for me, and I felt like the back half was not quite as good as the front half. I don't like it when bands do that. But that's me, and I still felt like this is a fairly strong record. A couple things could have been cleaned up to really put it into an upper 80s for me, but I feel like it's strong. It's just not quite perfect, you know? Anything else you want to throw in here?
Not really. I mean, just, I enjoyed listening to it okay, but I just for some reason, one of those things where my eyes kind of glazed over, and I was like, yeah, this is all right, but it didn't hit me.
One thing I really like is how they had multiple synth parts going on at the same time. You'd have more kind of just held keyboard synths where you'd have this lush background, and then on top of that they'd have something kind of cascading or moving part on top of that, and then you'd have guitar and vocals on top of that. Track 2, Not Getting There, might be, I mean, one of my favorite tracks of the year. I love that track. I could not stop listening to it. And anytime you have that on an album, I feel like it will raise the collective score, kind of like your ACT score when you really excel in one area. But everything else you just can't handle. So it raises the cumulative for me, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I liked, like I said, Here Sometimes, Not Getting There, tracks 1 and 2, and then 4, My Plants Are Dead. What a great song title. Mm-hmm. In track 5, Love or Poison.
Prison.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick track 2 also. That is a fantastic song, Not Getting There. Also, My Plants Are Dead, track 4. And then I really like track 8, Everything Is Wrong. It's a shorter one. It's a little more rock and a little more moving, and that's why I liked it. I thought it provided some nice contrast from the slow-moving pace of the rest of the album.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that, I outlined a lot of the reasons why I like this album. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go 78. I feel like it's solid.
I'm going to go 63. It's all right.
It's fair. That's 2 back-to-back albums that you and I agreed on. I'm liking this, Tom.
It's interesting.
But yeah, what do you guys think? I mean, obviously, Tom and I have some dissonance in our scores here. So what do you think? Do you like this? Do you think that do you not get into it? Is there certain factors that are allowing you or preventing you from getting into this? Let us know either at our YouTube channel or at www.velocitiesmusic.com. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom,
and we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.